What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fights channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now, yes, that's me, yours truly. And I wanted to go back and look at this video that I made 2 years ago because in light of the news that we just got, that Sony is considering, according to their boss, he said in their investor meeting on video, by the way, this is crazy that this was on video,
And the other
that another potential for them to pursue revenue growth was actually on computers, PC. And this to me is very interesting because as far back as 2018, I made my first video where I said that I thought Marvel Spider-Man 1 should come to PC because at the time, PC market had been growing. We got NPD research that was talking about all this stuff as to, the growth of, PC components, because this was, in my opinion, in a sense, I would say at an intersection with the first Bitcoin crypto mining boom. This is not the same one as 2020. 2020, when that boom came about again, skyrocketing of prices just became the norm. But I'm talking about the one that got a lot of people into PC gaming, as AMD was also at the, cusp of, throwing down some heavy competition with Nvidia. It was a perfect environment for the booming of PC gaming. So I was making these videos and I kept making them and talking about the business trends I was seeing. In light of today's news, I wanted to go back to this particular video, and I'll go back through some other videos and you guys are going to see what it is that I was talking about at that point, if at any point I missed anything. So let's take a look at it.
So the past two videos that I've made, I've talked about Spider-Man possibly coming to PC, why I think it's, something that Sony needs to consider. And I'm sure somebody's considered it and, raised it in a board meeting, but probably got shut down or turned down.
Apparently it didn't. We have Marvel Spider-Man Remastered on PC. It's insane. And not only do we have Marvel Spider-Man Remastered on PC, based on the hacks that were actually thrown down, we actually now know that there was a Marvel Spider-Man 2 PC version that was already a thing even by the time the game had just recently launched on PlayStation 5.
But it doesn't mean that that's the end of the whole conversation. Microsoft is playing this game, and it didn't seem apparent when they started playing the game. It's a game that needed time for it to mature. A lot of different things are forcing the hands of different gaming, magnates to make moves that are unprecedented. So let me point it out to you in this video and see if I can do it in a very short period of time. So number one, Microsoft has Game Pass. You don't need to buy a big old Xbox to get Game Pass. You can play on your PC.
I had to skip my own ad, an ad that's on my video. That's crazy.
You can play it on your Xbox console. You have access to EA's library if you get Game Pass Ultimate. So this is a huge library and a huge chunk of games available to a broad spectrum of gamers. Microsoft looked and saw Sony was already owning a huge portion of the console market, not generally all of it, and went for the PC audience directly. So there was like this weird fine line that was already there. They targeted it and they went, boom, nuked it out of the water. Guess who felt the impact? Not only Sony, Steam also felt the impact. That's why you're getting your Steam Deck very soon. Steam looked and said, we got to find a way to compete with Microsoft. Or maybe that's not what they said. Maybe they had their own vision. But I think it came as a result of seeing Microsoft being serious about gaming this generation. So your Steam Deck is supposed to be somewhere you can carry your Steam library with you. And you know why that's a possibility? Microsoft went with xCloud. You can carry your whole Xbox library with you in the cloud. Game Pass Ultimate provides you a game library in the cloud. So for a small fee of $50, I can convert my phone that I'm recording this video on into a gaming system and play all our wonderful AAA games under a Wi-Fi connection that I would need anyways to play most of them. Isn't that crazy? Imagine.
So this is wild because I was drawing this correlation, and to be honest, I can't tell you if this correlation makes any sense at this point. But what would have really pushed Steam to move into hardware production that seems to somewhat encircle their own ecosystem? I think Game Pass was the catalyst. I strongly believe that Game Pass was the catalyst that probably had them even maybe bring it into production and even pursue it. They probably had thought about it. Maybe somewhere it was a design that, somebody had drawn up and talked about, in say their R&D stuff. And man, when they saw Xbox bringing full-blown libraries to the phones, I think they wanted to go ahead and just at least keep up with the pacing of the market in a sense. PlayStation is the one that's behind in this whole conversation. Do you see what was going on? Because every time Microsoft will push something forward, other market people will follow. Microsoft is truly the market leader in this whole conversation. There's just no doubt about that.
If you could start downloading these phones, mobile versions on your cell phone, which developers might not be out of the question for them to do things like that. iPhones now are up to 1 terabyte in memory. The iPhone 13, watch out. Mobile gaming or gaming on mobile phones, let's say mobile gaming, is about to become something that you just never thought would happen.
Whoa! I cannot believe I said that. That's weird because the Resident Evil game, I don't think we had the announcement. I don't think the iPhone 15 was even, we weren't even having those conversations at the time. And I guess the trend just kind of was selling itself anyways. I mean, it's not like I discovered anything crazy, but it's weird that I just said that like it was, oh yeah, this is definitely going to happen. I mean, we knew it was, but looking back 2 years and seeing this, it's like, whoa, that's weird.
And so Sony looked and said, we got to get in on that. So they threw some of their exclusives on PC, and PC players said, bring it. We enjoyed it. Oh, they threw another one. It was first Ghost of Tsushima. I said Ghost of Tsushima, sorry.
Horizon.
It was first Death Stranding, then followed by Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, really?
Which one came first? Was
it was Horizon.
Whichever. And now there are leaks from NVIDIA saying that Ghost of Tsushima is probably going to join. And then God of War is coming in January. So Microsoft is blazing the trail and forcing these other folks to do this. So when we say bring Spider-Man to PC, Sony, we're looking out for your best interest. I already have played the Spider-Man. Many who enjoy Spider-Man, PC gamers that I know, many bought a PlayStation and played it. Some didn't. Some have waited. But even the waiting game is now, at what point do you want people to still keep waiting for the product when you already know you can bring it to PC? Now, one of my audience members, dedicated audience member, John, I appreciate all of the comments that you've already laid on my video and all your participation. So I also want to take this opportunity to answer your question. You said something along the lines that it will be challenging for them to actually convert the games from the console version to the PC version. And I did a short reply to that comment, but I wanted to go ahead and just add a little bit more in terms of just expounding more on that aspect of things. For the longest time, I thought that console development and,
why did we
and PC development, I can just continue what I thought I was going to say in that video, were basically exclusive in terms of how they work. In reality, though, the truth is when you're developing your game for console, you're basically developing it on a PC. So I've seen this, particular question also show up on, it's also shown up on Twitter. People will say, well, that just is going to increase development time in a sense. But with good management, these companies have already been there and they are capable of getting the job done. The ad's done playing. Let's hear what I have to say about this anyways, because I guess it's, something that everybody kind of knows at this point.
PC development was actually different. Little did I know that all development were done on a PC, and then you just have to say, I want to package this particular game to Xbox or PlayStation or mobile or whatever it is. I've linked a few videos on tutorials.
Now, many of you know that right now, and I've said this before, I'm working on developing my own video game. And the process is very interesting because if you want to ship your game on the consoles right now, you have to go through an application process. And the console companies will give you access if they accept you in, they'll give you access to, their development kits and say maybe even an SDK, which is basically a software development kit. And I'm using Unreal Engine as, the development engine for what it is that I'm building. And the SDK for Xbox and for PlayStation do not come native with Unreal. You have to actually be accepted by both of them in order for Epic Games to then give you access to the SDK. So there's like a three-way confirmation that has to happen. But once they give it to you, you can then eventually start packaging your game that you make based on the specs of your hardware right there and be testing as you're building. So at the end of the day, by the time you've built your game to a specific, point in place, then you can start packaging and running it on your development kit as you're going. So again, this is not something that the development companies don't know. They just were sitting on the premise of exclusivity as the one thing that was going to be bringing them all this money, when in reality, that is a dying business concept at the moment.
On the Unity game development engine on how to actually package a game for Xbox. And then you also see some examples on how to package a game for iOS and for Android and all of these other things. It's literally an option on the Unreal Engine. You click File, Package, boom, if you have the APIs anyways. I mean, the APIs don't come native with those free engines. You have to reach out to Microsoft and Sony for them to give you their API to be able to package. I don't know if it's an API they call it, but that's what I call it. To be able to package games on them. And then
It's called an SDK, bro.
Also, documentaries that you watch within, Sony in the development of, say, God of War, another development video on a little bit about The Last of Us as well. And you see that the development teams are sitting with computers in front of them. They're using the computers to develop the game based on Sony's own development engine, and then they put it on a console to test and run. It's an easy way to do things. It costs Sony probably less money in terms of, say, they will have to develop that game for all three platforms. That's just a lot more money for them. So even their exclusives are a good incentive, but the market is changing right now. So those PC versions already are just then adapted to the PlayStation version with its own OS and all that, and they can run tests and make sure that the game runs very well. Frame rates are good. Everything is wonderful. Then they ship the game when it's working. In order for them to do the PC port, maybe they have to ship it to another external studio to port the game. Some studios are actually, that's all they do.
Yep, that's. I mean, we know this stuff now, but it's interesting to see the market changing and to see Sony embracing this. And I waited to this point of the video to play this particular clip because I thought it was interesting that these things have probably been what I call pain points within the company. And after the hacks, it was just obvious that this was going to be the natural progression. PlayStation players are not buying enough exclusives to justify the exclusivity, the first party exclusives anyways, to justify this continuous exclusivity push with strong content. That's what I think they have. I think as much as we may, dog on PlayStation games and say, they're movie games, they're still a strong offering every time they come out. They just don't have the base to rock it. It's the third party games that are selling on their hardware. Yes, it's making the money, but why would I be blowing all this money when I can leverage more in terms of profits? So let's listen to what is said here.
And the other potential driver is the first party title generation. Because in the past, as you all know, we wanted to popularize console. And the title was something, and the first party title main purpose was to make the hardware or the console popular, right? It is true, right? But there's a synergy to it. So if
there's a synergy to it, we want to make more money. Let me go ahead and let him finish speaking.
If we have a strong first-party content, not only with our console, but also other platforms like computers, and the first-party can be grown with multi-platforms, and that can help operating profit to improve. So that's another one that we want to proactively work on. I personally
they want to proactively work on it because they have to proactively work on it. Xbox is already beating y'all's butt on the PC side of sales. It's the truth. Xbox literally sat here last year and jumped into the 13 most whatever the heck number I think most, I don't know, Steam's highest selling games of the year. Why? Because you didn't show up. You had a Spider-Man 2 game that would have easily come in to take the cake and walk all over everybody else, but you wanted to keep it exclusive. When you have it sitting and the hackers have gotten a hold of it, it is now in the wild and people are playing with it. And what does that do for the company? I think that this strategy of sitting there on the video games until 2 years later so that you can go buy another $500 device in the face of heavily advanced PC hardware, that is a sham. I guarantee you somebody would rather take an extra $1,000, slap it on their old GPU, sell that GPU in the market and buy a 4090 as a serious PC gamer 9 times out of 10 before they go buy a PlayStation 5. Why? Because they know that their PC hardware is definitely poised to play whatever video game that they want to play. And the PC market, even though its growth has stagnated, it is still established a foundational base, which is that number of people that were jumping in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. Do you see how many years I've counted? People were building PCs all the way through that time. Why? Because games like Shadow of Mordor, GTA 5, I mean, go look at all the builds from that time. They could run on $400, $500, $300 computers. I mean, the Boson 3.0, this is Austin Evans's, one of his most popular video where he made a Boson 3.0 computer, and this computer can run basically almost all of our fun games at the time. It was a 2-minute build. It was very straightforward. And this build on testing, this is it right here. This is the first computer I ever built on testing this build, after putting all the components at the time, it could run GTA 5 at about 40 FPS. It could run The Witcher, close to 60. What was it running The Witcher at the time? It was, I mean, The Witcher was already kind of like better than console anyways. It was running Shadow of Mordor or whatever Shadow of War was given at the time. Let me see what the specs for Middle Earth was. Yeah, Middle Earth was running over 60 FPS at the time. So you already looked at a PC at that time. If you were thinking about it, like, why am I playing on 30 FPS on a device console that is almost as expensive? I'm paying PlayStation Plus if I wanted to play other games. So some people took the step, and it was a significant number of people who took the steps to actually go ahead and pull, and make that switch. Man, I'm telling you, I was so surprised how cheap it was at the time. And in fact, I dismantled this build because it wasn't running the Division at 60 FPS, and I built something a little more powerful for, I think, like $120 more. It wasn't even a big amount. I bought like an RX 480 instead of the GPU that he suggested here. So these changes have been things that are going on. So for those of you who are looking at your next generation of consoles, you already know what I've said. If it's something that's crossed your mind, you don't have to go to PC. But if it's ever crossed your mind, man, don't waste any time, man. No time wasting in all these conversations. Get yourself a decent PC. Look out for sales and look out for price drops because they're there, especially in this economy. Look towards leveraging whatever it is that you have already in old hardware. Some of you may have old PCs in your house. You might want to learn how to geek out a little bit and strip those things if you're not using them. You might be able to get a hard drive out of them that you can use temporarily to kind of get your build jolted out of the ground. I mean, it's only a matter of time. That's the thing about hardware. Hardware built upon itself. But I'll get out of your hair. This video has been long enough. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys so much. Peace out.